In this video, we'll tackle spring watercolor florals with a twist because we're working across 2 panels to create a diptych. Hello my friends, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell and on this channel we get creative together. There's a new art tutorial every Friday, so make sure to subscribe if you are new here. And today is no different. It's the first Friday of April. Spring has sprung. We've had really beautiful weather here in Halifax the last couple of weeks. And so I thought it would be fun to paint some spring watercolor florals. Well, before you're like, we've done that so many times. Yes, we have, because we love that around here. But today we are actually going to approach it from an entirely new perspective, at least for me, and hopefully this will be something kind of fresh for you as well. What we're going to do is create a watercolor diptych. When I say diptych, I mean a painting or any flat artwork really that is spread across 2 panels or 2 pieces of paper or whatever. Like most art terms, diptych is steeped in historical meaning and meanings. For example, it often refers to a hinged carving or painting that is in 2 parts. But for our purposes on this channel today, we are just going to think of a diptych as a painting spread across 2 panels. And triptych could be a piece of art spread across 3 panels, whether it's photography or drawing or whatever. But yeah, I think it'll be really fun and kind of a way to get our mind thinking differently, kind of a way to just approach something from a new direction, and that can really boost creativity, I think. When I started thinking about what I wanted to create for a diptych today, I thought, what about just a negative positive? Blue flower on white, white flower on blue. So, you know, those would go together and kind of mesh, but they're different. I also had an idea to do a botanical in sort of pinks and browns. And then I would also do a landscape, like a simple landscape in pinks and browns. And those would somehow kind of go together. I don't know, I hadn't thought that one all the way through, but it could be cool. And then another example of a diptych is a painting that is totally continuous, but that is just separated because it is on 2 pieces of paper or 2 canvases. And that's kind of where I landed for today's project. I'm going to do this splashy, vibrant, colorful spring floral in watercolor, and the painting will flow from one panel to the next. But both pieces of paper, both paintings will also be able to stand alone as a finished piece of artwork. I think this is going to be really fun. It's going to get those creative juices flowing as we approach watercolor florals from kind of a new direction because we got 2 blank pieces of paper, not just one. So yeah, I hope you'll join me. This is beginner content. Even if you're not painting the exact same flowers as I am, this is a great project to just sit down and experiment with your watercolors. So let's get started. For my supplies today, I am going to be working on 2 9x12 artboards from Canson. They're cold pressed watercolor paper, but they're super sturdy and great for creating finished pieces. I've also used washi tape to tape off a nice border, and that's just going to give me a clean edge, but that step is totally optional. And then I have my Muño 48 pan set of paints. I also have a little Strathmore sketchbook, and I'll do all my practice and prep in there. It's a watercolor sketchbook. I am using a number 3 pointed round paintbrush and 2 glasses of clean water. Before I jump into painting this diptych, I need to do a little bit of prep. You can see that I've already thought about a color palette. I have at least half an idea of my colors here. And now what I'm doing in this little sketchbook, watercolor sketch pad, is just practicing some of the flowers. I know I want to do a white flower because that just says spring to me. So I have this really cool gray mixed up. It's a bit of French gray with blue in it. And I am practicing these like kind of like a peony, like a wide open big flower with this messy yellow stamen at the center. I have a really dark green. This is a mix of black and deep phthalo green, so I'm trying out some leaves. I am also using an olive green to paint these thinner leaves. So I'm just trying some different shapes. I'm checking to see how all the colors work together. And it's just always a good idea to do this sort of prep when you begin a larger scale painting. You don't have to do it every time, but I do find it's worthwhile. And then, I have this nice burnt orange here, and I want to do a berry, so I tried it in a couple sizes. I did a tiny berry with a brown stem, but in the end, for spring, I really liked the larger berry with those olive green leaves. Now I want to incorporate some vibrant color here, so I mixed a little magenta with just a hint of brown, and that gives me this kind of sophisticated, dark, rich pink. And I'm going to prep, just a really loose floral. Today, everything we're doing is super loose. To complement my magenta flowers, I'm going to mix up a really dark blue. So this is a navy blue with just a little bit of dark purple in it. And that's going to be nice for the leaves and stems of this flower, because I don't want all the leaves and stems to be green. That's just a personal preference, but I want this piece to be really vibrant and colorful. Now, I also thought I might need a little more yellow. So this is yellow ochre mixed with just a hint of brown. I feel like I'm mixing brown into everything. That's typical of me, but I'm just practicing a few leaves. Just run that belly of the brush across the page and let those organic shapes emerge naturally. So prep is done. We've thought about color and the flowers we want to use. It's not set in stone, but at least we're going into the painting with some idea. And now I will begin doing one panel. Now you may choose to paint both panels at the same time. That is a personal preference. For me, I'm going to work on the right-hand panel first, and I've got all my prep work right here so that I can see it. I know that my largest flower is that big white open peony, and so that's what I'm starting with. I tend to paint my largest flowers first and then kind of fill in around them with the smaller botanicals. Now today I am doing a very loose watercolor floral, so I haven't done a map or sketch or guide, and sometimes it's nice to just do your prep and then just start painting, just jump in. But if that kind of freaks you out, I do have a video about how to design and lay out a watercolor floral, so I will link that in the description. But for this piece, if you're working along with me, try to think loose and free. So with these loose watercolor florals, we're not so much thinking about the form of a flower, we're thinking about brush strokes. And I always say just run that belly of the brush across the page, add a little more pressure or a little less, allow a brush stroke to happen, this shape emerges, and then call it a leaf. It's a leaf if you say it's a leaf, all of them can look a little different. You can use just the tip of the brush to do these really thin leaves, and then add a little more pressure and drag that belly of the brush for larger shapes, like the larger leaves or even little berries or petals. So just trying to get in the habit of doing that, where you're not going back and fixing your watercolors. Fixing, it can kind of take the magic out of the watercolor medium. What you want are those happy little accidents, and I don't think those happen as often when you are constantly like, oh, that petal wasn't quite right, I'm going to go back and tweak it. You want to just leave it alone. And when you leave your watercolors alone, that's when you get those beautiful differences in the transparency, and the paint will settle really dark in one area and a little lighter in another. And that's what makes the medium so beautiful. And you could see me doing it on those pink flowers, just add that pressure to the brush, drag the belly across the page, and there's one petal, do 3 more, and boom, you've got a flower. And not all the petals need to be equal. With these white flowers, the trick is to use a really light gray paint or beige paint, and you want to just paint shadow and lines. So I'll paint a big swatch, and that'll be a shadowy part of the petal, and then I'll outline the rest of the petal, but I leave a large area white. You want to make sure you're not painting a gray flower. So you're kind of outlining the edges of some petals, adding a little bit of shadow in other places, and then again, just leave it alone because you really want that white page to come through. And you can always add more paint later. We can add a darker gray and do a little more detail. I'm going to paint some more pink flowers so we'll get a nice close-up, and you can really see I just do these quick brush strokes and I leave it alone. You know, some could be thin, some a little thicker, some flowers angled, some are sort of open and blooming facing your viewer. So just play, let those brush strokes sit once you've put them on the page, and just call it a flower. With these berries, you'll notice I paint the orange berries, and then quick as I can, I come back in with that olive green so that hopefully I get a little bit of bleeding and blending between the green and the orange. And that blending of the colors is also a nice element in our watercolor florals. It adds to that loose quality. And here again with the leaves, just, you know, a little, just light pressure on that brush. Everyone can be a little different. Each one is a little bit weird and wonky, and that's what's beautiful about them. And now I need to add some blue. I haven't done any navy blue yet, so I'm going to continue to fill in and add those leaf shapes. Again, just dragging that belly of the brush across the page for the larger leaf areas, and using the tip of that pointed brown brush to do the delicate bits like stems and branches. For these blue leaves, most of them are this really dark, rich color, but here's a trick I like to use for leaves. Paint half of the leaf, so one brush stroke only, come back in with just water on your brush and do the second half, so one more brush stroke, and it really bleeds and blends beautifully. So paint half a leaf, 1 or 2 brush strokes, and then paint the other half with just water on the brush, and you get that beautiful wet into wet or wet on wet blending and bleeding of the paint. Okay, at this point, I was like, do I need to add more yellow? And then I realized yellow looks too fall. So I mixed up this wonderful lime green. It's almost like a chartreuse. It's a bit of yellow with a really, really light green and a touch of white. And I just thought, this is spring, these beautiful bright green leaves. It's the color of new growth, and it's really making all the other colors pop. So that's what I was saying. I'm not married to the prep that I did, but it's, you know, a good place to start. And then as you're painting, you can change things up. I'm also taking the painting and placing it upside down when it works for me. If you feel like you need to pull the brush towards you, and that would be more comfortable in some areas, then turn that painting upside down. I just had to fill in this middle area to finish my first panel. I'm placing a couple more leaves, couple more berries, and she is looking good, and we have this really loose, wonderful floral. Just popping in here with a reminder to my channel patrons, because it's the first weekend of the month. You have an exclusive tutorial waiting for you as of tomorrow, Saturday. And this month we are painting watercolor pansies. So another good spring floral. I think you're really going to enjoy this tutorial. And if you're not a channel patron, consider it. It starts at $2 a month. You get access to tons of extra videos and extra bonus content. All right, let's get back to our painting. The first panel of my diptych is almost complete at this point. I'm just placing a few more tiny green leaves where I feel like I might need one. What I've done is kept everything on the right panel really close to the left, and then left a little bit of negative space in the upper right corner. On the left, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm not going to do such a large floral burst. It'll be more like an L shape, kind of tucked towards center like the first one. And yeah, I think this is gonna turn out really nice. Again, I didn't do a plan or guide. I'm just kind of getting loose, having fun with it. You might find that it's easier to paint both at the same time and think of it as one big piece. That is just personal preference. I was afraid of splashing paint on my blank page because I can be quite messy like that. But as I was saying in the intro, I think creating a diptych is such a great way to approach the watercolor floral in a new way, and kind of just gets you thinking creatively or thinking differently. So for this one, same flowers, same color palette, let's just say that. And then same sort of design where everything is going to be tucked towards the middle. Everything, because this is the left panel, everything will be on the right-hand side, but I am going to leave more negative space on this one, and that'll sort of differentiate the two pieces. So for this one, I'm only painting one large white flower. And then, like I said, it's kind of going to be an L shape. So I'll place all the smaller flowers around it. And hopefully this is going to turn out and look cute in the end. And yeah, maybe I'll get really into painting diptychs, or we could even try a triptych one day or something. So let me know, comment below, is this something you would tackle? Does this seem fun to you? Would you have both boards going at the same time and kind of be jumping from one to the other? Because I think a lot of people, that is kind of how your brain would work. So I would love to hear in the comments what you think of this and how you would approach it. I am sort of speeding through this second one because this is going to be like a really long video if I don't. But I hope that you feel like you kind of got the hang of this color palette and some of these florals. If you need more help with your watercolor floral forms, I have a ton of videos. I'll link a playlist in the description that is just all about watercolor flowers, and hopefully you'll find that helpful. Okay, this one I am just about done. Number 2, I'm just using a bit of really dark brown to do the stamens at the center of those pink guys. And then here we go. Let's switch them back to their original places. I think they look so pretty together and they really work as a cohesive piece, but each one could stand alone as one single finished painting. So diptych done, and it's really loose and vibrant and spring, all the things that I set out to do. I do think I need maybe just a little more length on the left one here, so I'll place some more really thin leaves. But for the most part, I think this is looking pretty much finished, and we'll move along to my favorite step here in a moment, which is to remove the tape. Removing that tape gives us our beautiful clean white border or edge. Again, that is a personal preference. You don't have to do that, but I love the way it looks, and I love the way that this diptych turned out. It's so spring and vibrant. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you'll try this on your own. I can't wait to hear what you think in the comments. Is this something you'd like to see more of? Remember, there are supplementary videos and materials. Those are all linked in the description. Head to the blog for supply links and still photos of the artwork, and I will see you soon with a new tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe.